Hi, this is Matthew Wetherbee, and this is my review of Rocky 3. So, Rocky 3 pretty much ends where Rocky 2 left off, with Creed and Rocky fighting, and then moves on from there. I think I don't remember much clearly at the moment because I haven't seen it in about a year or so, but they kind of go through some of the things he does after he becomes champion. Basically, Mickey's a good manager, and he tries to sign him up against people that were legit fighters and stuff, but that he feels his man can beat. So they might not be quite in their prime anymore or anything. And he's just beating guy after guy and successfully defending his title. And then at this press conference where they unveiled the statue of him up on top of the stairs that he ran up in Rocky 1, they're basically like celebrating how much he's done for the city and how much he's contributed to charity and how he's been a good representative of Philly, good representative of the sport. And during this press conference, Mr. T comes up. He's playing Clubber Lane in this. He's like a Mike Tyson type fighter. He's a #1 contender, and he basically accuses him of ducking him. And Rocky had no idea about this because Mickey kind of like managed all his fights and set everything up. And he's got all these victories under his belt. He's got a lot of confidence, and Miss like Clubber Lane really gets him riled up, and he talks Mickey into letting them have the fight. And before the fight starts, there's a small altercation and whatnot, and Clubber Lane pushes everyone out of his way. He's kind of flying off the handle, and Mickey kind of gets caught in all that, and he's a really old, really small, really frail man at this point. He obviously was a tough cookie back in the day. He was a great boxer, but now he's an old man, and his physicality is nothing like it once was. He just has that knowledge in his head. And so I think he got pushed against some rails on the stairs or something, and he's really, really hurt. And Rocky goes out there, and he's really, really mad. And he just unloads on Clubber Lane at first, but Clubber Lane's really, really good. He's a knockout artist. And he basically destroys Rocky in like 2 rounds or something. And Rocky goes back and he kind of answers all Mickey's questions honestly, but in a way where it leads Mickey to come to the wrong conclusion. He doesn't answer honestly, he doesn't lie. He answers the questions, and Mickey draws his own conclusion and thinks Rocky won, and then he dies, and Rocky's really, really sad because Mickey was super, super special to him. And so that gets him all mopey. And then he basically feels like he was a fraud, that everything after Apollo Creed was fake, and he doubts himself as a man and a champion, and he just thinks he's a big fake, and it's got him down the whole movie. And this is another one where I got really irritated because like he's all down and moping, and then Apollo Creed comes up, and this part's cool. Like this is where him and Apollo form their friendship, and I like this part of the story. This part of the movie's good. And this whole part of the movie, except for Rocky being mopey, is really good. His moping around is really irritating, but basically, once he becomes friends with Apollo, Apollo shows him how you would have to beat a man like Clubber Lane. He's got all this knowledge. He was one of the best world champions ever, and him and his trainers are just giving Rocky all this gold, all this boxing treasure, just wonderful knowledge and wisdom and how to fight. And he basically trains Rocky perfectly on how to beat a knockout artist like Clubber Lang, how to box against someone with this kind of punching power. And so you watch this, and when Rocky finally stops moping around and being a loser and actually starts training, you're thinking, okay, they're giving him some really intelligent advice. He might actually be able to do this. So that suspension of disbelief is there again, and you think, this is possible. But then they do the stupidest thing in this movie. Like, instead of doing what Apollo told him to do, he just stands there and is like, you ain't so bad, you ain't so bad, you ain't so bad. And it's like, dude, this is a world-class knockout artist. He knocks out world-class boxers who have tough, tough chins and tough, tough heads. It was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in any movie. Well, maybe not, because there's been a lot of stupid things in movies, but it really, really irritates me. Like, oh my goodness, it just drives me crazy. Like I mentioned in my other video, as a person who's been training and fighting forever and trained other people how to fight, this just drives me crazy. You always, like, you try to do what makes sense. You try to adjust accordingly to your opponent. If you're going against a big strong person, you don't wrestle with them. If you're going against some super quick little agile person, you don't try to match them speed for speed. You try to play on your strengths and their weaknesses. You bring a fight to that opponent that makes sense under the circumstances. And the last thing you're going to do against a knockout artist is let him hit you in the head over and over, because he's going to kill you. And if he doesn't kill you, he's at least going to knock you out and win the fight. So that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. So, yeah, that really, really irritated me. Like, basically, Rocky 3 might be like my least favorite Rocky after Rocky 5, but I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in it because I love Mr. T, and I love when he goes against Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan is gigantic. Like, I mean, you got this massive 300-pound wrestler, and so he picks up Stallone like he's nothing and like throws him into like the 6th row of the crowd or something. And then I hand it to Stallone because Hulk Hogan is a really big man, so Stallone, for his size, is really strong. He has to do like where you have all that leverage and stuff, where you scoop the body really, really close to you and have all your strong muscles working. But this is a 300-pound wrestler, and he's like a 200-pound man at the most. He might even be smaller than that, and he's struggling to get him there and kind of like drops him over the thing. But that was still a cool feat of strength for a man his size. I give him credit for that. And I love that Rocky and Apollo become friends in this one. That's cool. So there were some good things in it, and when you're like me and you're a little kid and grow up on these movies, you love the movies. I really, really, really hate the ending. I don't like that's how he chose to fight Mr. T, because that would never, ever, 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 ever work. Ever. It's so unrealistic. It's like, even in a movie you can't believe it. So that really, really irritated me, but still like the movies because I'm just stupid and like Rocky movies. But yeah, so that's my review of Rocky 3.